What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 27th episode of Trench Talk. My name is Anonymous22, here with my two usual co-hosts, NRV and LTR. NRV, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Aside from major price action and meme coins getting absolutely murdered, I feel good, dude. I feel confident. I know this market is going to continue. The bull run's going to continue. I've very much committed to myself that I know how to ride these waves. Conviction isn't borrowed. You build it yourself. I'm riding the wave. We're going way higher.
Yeah, I think we definitely, over like the 21, 22, 23 of us meeting Hideout, we've had some downtime, so I think we're a little more experienced in this at the moment. LTR, how are we doing today?
Doing well, man. I mean, can't complain. My bags are actually up during this, which is kind of crazy. And then I've
What
talked about
bags
it
are you
before.
holding?
Hello, bro. Let's go. The hamsters.
It's rare to find a bag that's up.
Fucking hamsters.
The hamsters. Okay. Anyways, and then I'm kind of like Woo Pig, who we had on earlier. I kind of just, stable profits, run up my stack on chain, do it again. So I'm not really too exposed to this right now, thankfully. I mean, this is why I do it for times like these. I do miss out on a lot of spot gains, but it is what it is. Yeah, I'm chilling, waiting for opportunities. We'll talk about it today, but on-chain Solana has become a mirror image to like banana bribing on ETH recently. So it's been an interesting development, as well as old memes taking a beating. What I've taken away from it is, besides Bitcoin, new coin's good, old coin's bad. Age-old adage. Shout out Jez, but yeah.
Dude, the bribing is a crazy topic. We definitely have to cover that.
Yeah,
It's
it reminds me a
wild.
lot of the end of ETH meme coins.
Yeah,
frankly.
it's wild how Sol has evolved.
I mean, shout out to Profit, bro. He's printing, but like it just does remind me of the end.
Yeah. I mean, some of these tips are just disgusting.
Yeah, there's a
We-
100K
we
one
can get into
earlier.
that.
Yeah, I totally don't want to like gauge my eyeballs out of on-chain right now. But anyways, we have a very special guest today. I'm going to say David. D Gills. I don't know how to say it. David, how are you
Whichever.
doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
For sure. Glad to have you here. So, yeah, I don't know what we need to talk about first. Honestly, personally, I'm ready to yap today. I'm honestly about to crash out mentally trying to trade crypto over the past week. I think December was just building up, and now it's just like all hell. Like, on-chain, it's just been probably like one of the worst I've seen in a while, and the vibes are just not immaculate.
I just want to say, David, we're like very grateful to have you on the pod. I would say one of the things that I do as a trader is like I research heavily, and I'm a big conviction trader. I know what I'm holding. I hold my bags, but I never stop researching. And a big part of my research is reading shit, but also like listening to podcasts, watching streams. I've watched probably every podcast that you're on. I've watched the Thread Guy streams that you're on. I've watched everything that you've spoken on, dude. And I think that you have a really bright mind. Not only that, but you're also a fantastic shit poster. You along with Base16Z, like you guys are god tier. But
Thank you.
I think you have like really good takes around AI, and I'm really looking forward to like diving into like some of your AI takes. But you also have other stuff like where you talk about how to handle selling, how to cash out, how to, spend your money, maybe buy some questionable watches. We can get into that.
Hey.
Yeah,
Date
dude,
just,
we're
date
pumped-
just,
we're pumped to
date
have you on the pod,
just.
dude, so welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course. We can talk about whatever you guys want. We can talk about AI, trading in general. I feel like the listeners of this, sometimes when I go on like Thread Guy, I try to be very like high level, because of the audience. But I feel like the people who listen to this, I mean, it's called Trench Talk, right? So they probably want like nitty gritty stuff. So we can get into details about stuff.
Yeah, show us some under 50K gems. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's so 50K. Let me go buy them real quick.
Yeah, launch that pump fund real quick.
Let's go. Let's
Go
go
post
live.
it on Trench Talk.
We need to do
Twitter.
these live now. I'd get in so much trouble. Yeah, I think people would be really interested to hear the nitty gritty. But I think a lot of Trench Talk listeners would also love to hear your more broad takes as far as market wise as a whole, because a lot of us aren't smart in that realm, frankly, and don't pay attention to it. So I think a lot of Trench people got caught off guard by this move. I think a lot of them were getting horny, like, oh, Trump's coming in, we're just going to go up only, and then all this shit happened right before Trump's inauguration. I think the LA fires and just kind of like worldwide pandemonium. Like some new viruses came out too, so I think that's just adding a little fuel to the fire. Not pun intended, by the way. I'm praying for you guys in LA. I did not mean to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, GG. Yeah, it's just
I think a good place. I think a good place for us to start. I mean, we do this with like every guest we have, David. If you want to just give us like a brief rundown of like your origin story, so to speak. Like, how did you get into crypto? Was it NFTs? Was it before that? How did you get into all this?
So I've been in crypto a while as far as just owning stuff. Like I bought like ETH and Bitcoin like probably back in 2017, but like tiny amounts, and didn't trade it all. I just held it forever. And I didn't actually start kind of quote unquote trading crypto until like early mid 21. Like I caught the second wave of DeFi, which was when like Polygon farms and stuff like that were popping up. And then like the early Ohm forks. So that was kind of my origin. And then, yeah, lots of NFTs and kind of all the stuff that happened in 21. But I was like a rookie. I didn't know what I was doing. I was really bad. And I got lucky and made some money on things. But then in 22, I lost it all. And then I don't think I would consider myself like actually starting trading until probably like mid 2022, late 2022. Basically when everything was just like collapsing and dying. And so, yeah, so I started then, and then 23, like, I feel like is when I learned how to trade for real, during like just the endless year-long chop, and then kind of went from there. And then obviously, 2024 was a lot better, and now we're in 2025. So yeah, that's basically my story.
Nice. On a previous pod that I listened to that you spoke on, you talked about how you hadn't been through like a full cycle before, like from start to finish, right? Like,
right.
I would imagine like this is probably like your first where you're like,
right. I came like
going into it from the get go. Like, how are you like digesting the current market or current cycle and trading differently, I guess?
Yeah, like last time I came, like I said, like in 21, so it was already, pretty late, like mid to late cycle, right? So yeah, this is the first time where I've been here from the bottom, FTX collapsed 15K Bitcoin to now. It's tough. I think the biggest thing that you realize as a trader, because there's different types of people, but obviously I assume most people listening to this podcast are like traders, right? They're not necessarily just bag holders who are trying to grab some bag and win big on one play. You guys are probably trading a lot, right?
Yep.
The biggest thing I would say is just adaptability. Because back when I started trading, a lot of it was if you weren't doing NFTs and you were following like the OGs of last cycle, like the biggest accounts, everybody traded perps. That was the thing. There was on chain, but it was not anything like it is now. There were some meme coins, but not really. The only meme coins were the big ones, the Doge and Shibs and Flokis and stuff. But it wasn't like, how we have meme seasons now. And there wasn't, back then it was like all DeFi, NFTs, and then like DeFi Ponzi's. That was mostly what people did on chain. And then everyone else traded perps, right? And so I actually started trading mostly on perps. That was like how I learned to trade. And nowadays I don't think anybody comes into crypto learning perps. Everybody who's new in the last year or two pretty much all goes on chain, mostly on Solana, maybe on Base, whatever. Very few people are even on ETH anymore, right, of the newcomers. So you have to constantly learn and adapt. And there's pros and cons to like, I think one of the pros of starting with perps versus on-chain is that with perps, it's so much more about learning quality execution and being very disciplined with your trading, whereas on-chain is a lot more, I think, kind of just swinging for the fences and identifying trends and things like that. And so I think the problem that I will say, matter of fact, that one of the edges I feel when I trade on chain is that most people who trade on chain are not actually good traders. The people who are good tend to either be like super early, and they're just like fucking like nits in terms of like sniping launches and stuff, right? And you have that whole crew, and those guys are super good. Like I'm not shitting or anything. I'm just saying that's like its own skill set. I don't play that game. And then you have a lot of the people who play kind of after that, and they play like these small cap, mid cap runners and try to catch them until they're a lot bigger. And I think the people who do that are bad traders. Like if they try to trade perps, and often they do, they just lose all their money, right? Because they don't necessarily have like the execution skill. They just are trying to catch big winners. And a lot of that comes with, there's benefits to being undisciplined with that, if that makes sense, right? And so I think that's kind of one of my advantages when it comes to trading on chain. But my disadvantage that took me a long time to learn and adapt from is that when you trade on perps, you are not swinging for the fences, right? You are grinding P&L. And there comes a point, I think, in everyone, especially in crypto, I would say, I can't necessarily speak to other markets, but in crypto, it's really all about the big winners. And so it took me a long time to adjust from, okay, grinding P&L is cool when you're trying to build a stack, but once you get enough trade capital, you really should just be optimizing for the big swings. And that was really hard. I was such a G. I really like I would be in things early, but I would just sell them so early consistently. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this probably relate to that. And like learning the skill of bag holding the right way, because there's bag holding that's like, you know, just idiot bag holding. You're just hoping and praying, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then there's like kind of strategic bag holding in terms of identifying a narrative or new meta and being early to it and sticking with it to see your thesis play out, right? That is like the adaptation adaptation that I've had to have over the years, where I used to be just super like I just want to grind out my P&L, and now I really only focus on the big swings because that's kind of what moves my portfolio at this point.
That's crazy, dude. Like we've spoken on this podcast multiple times about leverage trading. Our whole like impetus of like this pod is being in the trenches, making it out, grinding new pairs, just trading meme coins, trading shit coins, et cetera, like how to make a lot of money on chain. But we've spoken about like the importance of playing to your strengths, and I don't think any of us leverage trade here. I recently tried to get into it. I got fucking murdered. We're like the inverse of what you've described, where you began with leverage trading. So it's like very different. And I think that there are people on chain that make money through meme coins, and then they start to like feel themselves, so to speak. They're like, okay, I'm in the big leagues now. I'm going to go leverage trade, and then they just get fucking wrecked.
Yeah,
because it's a totally different game.
Yeah, I mean, you're
I think
not
something that's
Go
like
ahead.
important to say is, I mean, me, NRV, and LTR, we all started in 21 as well. All of us started on NFTs, so we just had kind of the small, gains, free mint to sell for 0.01, 0.02 ETH. You get 50 of them, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of us, I'd say throughout 21, were also, just small, I mean, not 21, 22 to 23, just small on-chain wins, just slowly stacking up.
Yeah.
And NRV kind of beat this to us to where he started to really hold stuff and really like have a thesis around things. But I mean, me and LTR, I feel like have just slowly started to trying to hold things. And you're right, like these big wins, I think a lot of it led up to I had to build my stack from zero, and then once I had stables, once I kind of had that like knowledge that like, oh, like I'm gonna be all right, like I'm probably not gonna zero myself again. I think now it's kind of gotten to the point where we've been trying to hold things with conviction. I think with conviction is like the biggest statement there, because you can't just like randomly trade and not have that conviction.
I think you have to get to that point though. Like I see a lot of people start out in the trenches with like a low amount of money, and they just try and hit that home run, that grand slam, like the peanut or whatever, and just make 8 figures. And it's like, I just don't think that's sustainable, because that's really just playing roulette. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think cheating, it gets shit on a lot, but like I think to a certain extent it's necessary until you reach a certain portfolio point. I'm not going to say what that number is. It's different for everybody, but I do think eventually you need those bigger swings to outsize your port. Like, 20K wins, they stack well, but like the little 10K wins just don't move the needle as much as they used to for the amount of work put in. So I think I agree with you in that. I also agree with you in the execution point. I think a lot of trench people call themselves traders, but are they really traders? I don't know. They're more just like I wouldn't call them pure gamblers, but I would say they're more speculators rather than just like a pure executionist. And I think, yeah,
Yeah, like on chain, there's a lot of different ways to trade it. I think the most profitable people on chain are kind of on the two ends of the spectrum. You have the super duper early guys who are like sniping launches, and they are just like, they are the best of the best at like, like reading on chain, finding new launches, go like, like reading through all this shit when nobody has any idea what this coin is. And then, yeah, like they're going to buy 50 coins that go to zero, but then that one winner is going to make them $1 million or whatever, right? And that's their game. And then on the other side, there's the people kind of, I would say more like me is in my school, where I don't play that early. I mean, occasionally I will try to get in on a coin early if like, I get it sent to me or something. But for the most part, I buy coins probably, I would say 5 to 10 million is like my ideal range. I'll buy higher than that, obviously, if I'm chasing a runner or whatever. But that's kind of like the area where I like to try to size in. And for me, it's not so much about trying to like, I think the problem with when you trade in the super early stages is you never really know what you have. And that's why you see so many people, they might own 2% of some coin at 200K and then they sell it at $1 million market cap and then it goes to 100 million and they say, oh, I fumbled. It's like, you didn't really fumble because you didn't know what it was, So I kind of prefer to play in the area where I'm not trying to out execute you on sniping. I'm trying to identify, okay, there's 100 new AI coins that came out this week that are somewhat relevant. Which are the one or two that are going to not die at 5 or 10 million and be the next 50, 100, plus million runners. That is what I focus on. And I think it's just a different skill set. Both are very profitable. I respect all the guys who play that super early. That's just not my game, but at the same time, I feel like I have a lot of edge in what I do because most people, I think, they kind of don't understand what makes good coins very often, or they do, but they realize it late. Like I think with AI, people realize it a lot more now because the meta has been going for a few months. But in the beginning, it was like very free money if you kind of knew what to look for. You were just cleaning up, because people didn't know.
I feel like things have changed a lot because of this AI meta. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that are trading on chain, but I would argue that like the vast majority of those people are like incapable or like unwilling to do the research to understand like what is actually sticky, like what's actually a good coin. And I think the AI meta in itself has allowed the people that like, mid curve, right curve, like actually do research into understanding like what is good tech, like what actually has more upside. Like that is exciting. Like, to me, at least, like I have like a tech background, a finance background. Like I fucking love that shit. It's not just like some random TikTok meme, TikTok trend. Like this is like the most exciting time I've ever had in crypto personally. I mean, I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's very different. Like it's not just new pair, trading volume, price goes up, TikTok meme, whatever. It's AI, man. Like it's whether it's an AI meme like a goat or a fart coin, or now we're talking about like decentralized finance AI like a Griffane or a Nur or a Grift or a Buzz, right? Like this stuff is fucking exciting as hell to me. And I think that understanding which coins have that stickiness from early on and having the ability and willingness to like research that and figure out what can have that, that's where like the real money's made. If you can identify that early.
I do think you made a good point there, David, where it's like you can't beat yourself up. I've been in that position so many times because I am a really early guy with wallets and stuff where it's like I'll buy some of this AI tech stuff, under 100K, under 50K on Pump Fund and sell it for good profit, and then it'll go to like 100 mil. But it's like when I bought it on Pump Fund, people would ask me like, yo, why did you cheat? And it's like, bro, I didn't know. I think a lot of these dev things, they take time to build if they're really good, like Cerebro or something, right? Like he was working on it for a while and didn't get the recognition for a while. So it's like a lot of these launch not totally built, and so it can just look like AI slop. And I think that's the thing is that 5 to 10 mil range seems to really be the make or break point between like the slop and the actual builders. And usually it's time based as well. So it's really interesting to see that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll get like I've mentioned this on another podcast before, but like GOAT, for example, I bought GOAT at like 200K, I think. And I sold it like at 300 or whatever. I didn't know what it was. It's like first of all, there was no AI meta back then. It was literally, this was the first one. Didn't know what it was, sold it. Next morning, it's like 20 mil or something, and I want to, kill myself. And then thankfully it kind of dumped back to like 7 to 10 mil. And that was where the research came in, where I was like, what is this coin? And obviously everybody knows the story now, but at the time I was like, wait a minute, Mark Andreesen, I was like, this is crazy. And so I bought it and I started tweeting about it. And then that was when it, went on this like insane run and started the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. You're going to buy coins super early. I think I'll say there's one skill I have that most people don't. And this is just, I think a lot of this is where the execution side matters a lot, is you have to be really unemotional about like, oh, I owned this coin at that, or, entries and stuff, because I will very often be in some coin early, sell it, and then it starts going higher, and I'll just buy right back. I don't care, and I think a lot of people have mental blocks around that. And that's where the reason I say that like I have edge on chain trading is because I think a lot of people, they've never really traded. They either are like momentum riders or they're trying to find shit super early, but they don't actually trade. And so I will knife catch things on chain. I will like be very patient. Say there's some coin that I really like and I kind of missed it and it went from 10 to 50 million or something, right? And I'm like, man, I really want this coin, but I'm going to be patient, right? And then it comes back to 20 and everybody says, oh, it's dead, it's over. Like, I'm willing to buy there, if I have the thesis, the conviction on that coin, and that's where I am able to extract a lot of edge on chain, just because I have more of a traditional trading background on perps versus most of these people don't,
Yeah, no, that is definitely completely valid. And I mean, it's something I'm trying to get better at. I think, I've been trying to get better at holding, been trying to get better at, it's almost like I would still do research, but I would still cheat. Like, it's like, damn, I did all this research, it still looks good, but let me still cheat it for a 3x. Like, I think one of the biggest, like, I don't know why it just randomly came to my mind, but just randomly, just the MFR coin on base, it was just like extremely early to that, and then just being like, damn, this looks really good. 3x though, let me just sell it and just move on with my day. So I think there's just like almost steps that each trader has to take to just learn. Like, there's no like you're just gonna automatically get to this high pedestal and be able to make these huge massive trades. I think it's almost like it's good for you to start low and just learn. Like, anyone new that comes to me to crypto, which I don't really share it to people, but some people will figure it out, and it's just kind of like, like I can give you some advice, but I can't give you experience.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's also essential to just know your edge. I think a lot of people, I mean, learn it. You can always learn new edges. I'm not saying that, but like if you are really good at one thing, sometimes you just have to do that and forget about the other stuff. Like, if you are a really good sniper early and you just rape coins at 4 mil, make your 50K rinse repeat, and you do that consistently and you do it well, like, I don't know. I think a lot of those guys stop doing that and then try and become like a POW or something that holds these coins to these larger market caps, where it's like, man, if you have an edge that you can execute consistently, you should just do that until you can't anymore. And I think a lot of people try and fit into boxes they can't. And I think that hurts them in the long run too.
Yeah, I agree. You should absolutely like maximize your edge. I actually don't trade perps that much anymore. I only trade perps like once a quarter. Like, in terms of heavy, like I'll take some swing trades here and there. But in terms of where I'm dedicating a lot of my time just trading perps, I really only do it like maybe once a quarter or so when the market is really hot, because there are periods where alts are super hot and I'll hop back on perps and try to run up a bag. But I don't do it that much anymore because the perp game has changed a lot. And frankly, it is a lot harder than it used to be. It's so, because you just have a lot more big money now in perps. The market is so much more efficient on perps. And on top of that, all the retail volume is on chain now. So you're just trading against other professional traders for the most part. And you get the occasional influx of like dumb money or whatever. But yeah, like I don't have a ton of edge on perps in the way I used to. Like I can grind out P&L, but I'm not gonna, 10x a portfolio on perps, but I can do that on chain.
What do you think about these like trading platforms that have popped up, like Breakpoint or OX.fun, that allow you to either use your meme coins as collateral, or excuse me, if you're not using your meme coins as collateral, you can deposit SOL and you can leverage trade meme coins, for example. I mean, not just meme coins. Like they're very quick to OX Fund, for example, is very quick to list certain coins. Like for example, when Hyperliquid went live for trading, you were able to like leverage trade that right away. Like you could have just mushed a long in and printed on there. But there's interesting stuff that happens on these platforms. For example, like if you hold a spot bag in a meme coin and you're up crazy, you hypothetically can just kind of hedge your spot by shorting the coin. You know what I mean? Like, do you have any thoughts on like these meme coin leverage platforms that exist?
I don't use any of those. Meme coins are plenty volatile enough for me. I don't need to add leverage on top of them.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game, dude.
But yeah, I mean, the hedging thing is more interesting. I don't know how much liquidity these platforms have. Like if you have a smaller bag,
funding rate, like
some
of them are bad, to be honest.
I don't know. I haven't experimented too much. Personally, I wouldn't be leveraged. Like you can, I'll leverage trade big meme coins, WIF and Pepe and stuff. But like, some small on-chain coin, they're plenty volatile enough. I don't feel the need to do that. I also definitely wouldn't use memes as collateral, because if your collateral value goes down, you can be in a forced liquidation, even if you're like, actual trade is in profit, So I'm not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't advocate for those platforms. If you want to trade with, like, I'll do what you said about Solana. Like, I pretty much my Bybit account, I always am either in Bitcoin or Sol for the most part as my collateral, and then I borrow against that to trade perps. So that's fine. I mean, those coins are more reasonable. But yeah, like a meme coin as your collateral is a bit dangerous.
Can we talk a bit about, I guess, your take on the current AI landscape? I mean, we've talked a little bit about conviction trades and whatnot. I know just from following you that you've been very big on Cerebro in the past. I know that Cerebro in particular, I find very interesting. Cerebro is like an interesting coin because it came out shortly after GOAT did. Jeffy essentially trained Cerebro on Truth Terminal's infinite backrooms, and he has like extremely interesting background in AI prior to all this happening. But he's like gone down this like incredible path of like creating like a truly creative AI agent, like an artist and whatnot. And I find it very fascinating. And he's got this platform and everything, and recently got banned off of SoundCloud. I actually fuck with some of the music that he has put out, or that Cerebro has put out. I only bring that up because my question to you is like, do you have like certain spot bags from a conviction standpoint that you're holding in AI? And do you have any takes on Cerebro in particular? Because I know that you held that and were bullish on it. Where do you sit right now?
If you asked me this question a few weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, I have big AI spot bags. Right now, I don't have that much because in the last week, like especially the last week of 2024, when AI, basically, all the AI coins were just going absolutely nuts, right? I was very much feeling a local top for many reasons. The biggest, I think, being the two main reasons being that it became consensus, whereas before for the, I mean, if you're in Go, right? I mean, if you remember from like the very beginning, every time AI coins would go down like a little bit, everyone would just immediately say, "Oh, AI coins are cooked. This is dead. Let's go back to memes," right? And so I really liked that. I really liked that everyone kind of faded it because it meant that there's a ton of people left to buy. I think it took about 3 months of AI dominance until people realized, no, this is not just some fad little short meta. It's actually a new category. And once that happened and it became consensus, and now all the memes were just down only and all the AI coins were just going up only, that was more of like, my sign, okay, it's time to start taking profits on a lot of these bags, on AI16, on Zerebro, on Virtual, and then some of the other stuff too. And then the other thing is that you always have to ask yourself, who's the marginal buyer? And you had all these big liquid funds and, wealthy traders. You had like the 1000X podcast with like Avi Feldman and what's his name, Jonah, talking about AI all the time. You have, Syncrasy, like this liquid fund that I kind of clowned on because the Ryan Watkins guy stole my Solun AVAX thesis like a month later and then blocked me, which was very funny. But yeah, like all these liquid funds, these are guys who typically manage 9-figure plus books, are writing, essays about AI coins now, when 2 months ago nobody gave a shit about them, right? And so that tells me like, okay, we have had a ton of money. The whole category went from 0 to I think just about 20 billion, a little under 20 billion in like 3 months. And so basically I said, I don't know who the marginal buyer is at this moment. And I don't know that, AI16, for example, went from like 400 or 500 million to 2.5 billion and I think like less than 2 weeks. And I said, that makes sense because they were kind of like the leader in terms of the ELIZA framework, in terms of adoption. I don't know that you can make a great justification at this moment for AI16Z at 2.5 billion of saying, oh, this should be worth like 10 billion, right? Because that would be the justification for buyers at this price. And I said, I don't know that you can necessarily make that justification for various reasons, which I can get into. So basically, I thought we were local topping.
Chill, bro.
Yeah, well now after that happened too, Shaw's been doing some nefarious things. I won't get into that, but anyways, I just kind of like, I went from nobody believes in this category, everyone's shitting on it constantly, to now all of a sudden everybody thinks buy every single dip, go all in AI, right? Yeah. My job, I tweeted this on my alt. It's like my job, and when I mention like I buy these, mid caps and small caps, my job is to identify trends early or before they happen, and then sell once those trends become consensus. I want to front run the herd.
I think that to your point, I mean, you nailed it, right? Like, it sounds like you're very mindful of looking at when things become consensus. I mean, it's impossible to time the top on these trades, right? Mm-hmm. I have conviction in the bags that I hold. I'm going to keep holding the ones that I believe in. I believe in GOAT. I believe in the provenance, whatever. We don't have to like discuss that deeply. But when it comes down to like the whole AI thing, you have to like think about how, at least the way that I look at it is, it's unlocked this like new paradigm that allows these AI developers and researchers to actually like quote unquote raise money for themselves and like build cool shit that they weren't able to get funding for before. I mean, maybe VC funding and whatnot, but it wouldn't really get like widespread adoption or interest. So it's an exciting time in that regard. If we talk about AI16Z, like you were just talking about, that's the coin right now that everybody's building on top of, the ELIZA framework, whatever. If I'm a guy like Shaw, I'm not tweeting the way that he's tweeting. I'm just building the tech and letting the tech do its job. He had a huge fallout. I think when it was at like 400, 500 mil, then it crashed back down to 100. Then he's like, okay, I'm shutting off. I'm not tweeting anymore. And then without tweeting, it goes over a bill, 1.1, 1.5, whatever. But now he had this huge crash out like today or yesterday. That guy needs to like chill out.
It ain't just the past 2 days.
I mean, I understand like it's a newfound thing.
How many projects?
Like, he doesn't know how to handle the attention or the money or what is it? But like, dude, like what the fuck is going on with that guy?
One, I think it just, which I'm going to probably transition a little bit into just on chain at the current moment, but I think one, it's just I don't know, man. He just likes the attention, dude. I don't know
I think
what
he
it
does.
is.
Yeah, I think he's addicted to the
I
spotlight a
think
little
that
bit.
has to be it. Like, just on chain, new pairs have just gotten so toxic recently. I think it's just on chain's gone toxic, Twitter's gone toxic, and I'll say it, like, it was a pretty easy, like, kind of, stable and watch this just all play out. Like, just watch all these huge egos just blast each other on Twitter. And it's just something that I'm just, like, not, I don't know, like, proud of crypto for. Like, it's just lame, dude. Like, I hate it, man.
David, give us your flat out, transparent take on Shaw.
You guys are gonna get me in trouble, dude. I already got in trouble for the last time I talked about him. People get very upset.
We want all the fucking smoke.
Okay, well, no, I'll say first, I think AI16Z has done a lot for the space. Like,
I agree.
The ELIZA framework has
okay.
done a lot.
It's amazing.
And I think that's amazing. People can make AI agents very easily. I think the ELIZA framework's great. I'm just going to say that full stop. This is about, like, Shaw as a persona, as a personality, rather than anything AI16Z.
I agree. We're not here as a platform to, like, shit on any projects or anything. I just think openly, whether it's said here or on Twitter, there's certain sentiment or digestion that needs to be spoken about around certain circumstances or founders. I'm just curious what David thinks about him. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this first. We are traders, so however I personally might feel about somebody doesn't really matter. What matters is profit, and that is kind of how crypto operates, and that's why lots of shady people get away with things, because people don't care as long as they're making money. People only will get upset at you once they're losing money, right? I think we saw this, a lot last cycle, where the heroes became the villains, right? The Suzus, the SBFs, right? These guys were heroes, and now people hate them. And rightfully so. I'm not saying like those guys aren't undeserving, but that's how it works, right? And, Shaw right now is a hero because he basically made one of the leading, the second largest AI coin behind Virtuals and the largest one on Solana. And so, game is game in that sense. I, had a tweet after the whole Maddle situation went down, where I basically shat on Shaw and AI16Z. And, the coin dumped and a lot of people were upset. And I didn't say anything false. The guy, again, as we've seen now, has just done the same thing again. And he's done it multiple times now, where it's like very shady things happening in the background and they pump and dump these coins. But besides that, I will say, like, and in the moment, I had this emotional reaction about AI16Z. But then I said, you know what, this coin is good. They are the leading framework. And so I put my emotions aside and I still bought it. Like, I'm still going to, I don't have to like you to make money off your coin, right? Exactly. So that's number one.
Up. Personally, that's where I fucked up. Because
yeah, and it's an easy thing to do.
Jaw fucked up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not supporting this guy. But the reality is the tech is fucking sick. So, like, I should have bought it.
Yeah, and my I do think it's cringe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's cringe when people will suck a guy off just because they have a big bag of it. I get it's kind of human nature, but
Agreed.
It's like, listen, I'm going to make money from his coin. I don't have to like the guy. But now that I've sold and I have no interest, I can say, yeah, I don't trust Shaw or the AI16Z team, flat out. I mean, that doesn't mean that ELIZA might not still be a successful framework. That doesn't mean that I might not buy back AI16Z again in the future if I think it's a good trade. But would I trust them? No. Not at all. And I think that will be their downfall in the end. Because they just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over and then pretending like they're the victims,
There's this whole wave of there's this guy who tweets. I'm not going to name his name because I think his Twitter account is pathetic because he is basically like a hate account, just calls out bullshit or shits on projects over and over. But I do think that this particular account, which had insane engagement around this particular topic, he raised a great point. He basically said that, there's this tweet where Shaw said on Telegram, oh, I felt like sparring with this guy just for entertainment on the timeline. Literally don't care about the fart coin or LLM. I figured I would just shake people out. I got a FUD for entry for the homies every once in a while. Mm-hmm. When a high net worth individual or a fund sees a founder acting like that, why would they invest in that? Like, how can you trust in somebody like that? It's just like really bearish.
I mean, it's a
So,
liability,
it's sad
right?
to see
Like,
that.
you don't want to have your personal dealings affect your product, and I think that's what might happen. I think we've already kind of seen that happening. I think it's just a good memo to all founders, really. Like, I think once you reach a certain threshold, which AI 16Z has, you just have to move differently. Like, you have to start moving like a venture capital startup, rather than a meme coin launched on, Pump Fund or Dows Fund. And I think that's an important paradigm shift that you have to undergo.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with when you said that I think he just likes the spotlight. And I get it. Listen, I tweet a
Yeah, it
lot.
feels
I
good,
get it.
bro.
It feels
Like-
good when you get a lot of engagement. I'm not going to say,
The
but I'm
dopamine
also
rush.
a trader. I'm not a founder of a protocol, So when you represent, you have people who work for you, you have bag holders, right? It's like, you have shareholders for all intents and purposes, right? It's like, you have different responsibilities. If you want to be a shit poster, be a shit poster, but do it on an alt or, but certainly don't put your brand and protocol's reputation behind like nefarious things that you're doing, So I'll just leave it at that.
And I mean, I also want to say I'm not sure if he really like. He seems just kind of weird, and I don't think he really even understands his actions. I think it was just some weird guy that made some cool tech that got popular. Honestly,
I mean, that's how a lot of these devs are, though. Like, they got the tism,
Yeah.
bro, and they don't.
I
Which
don't
is
think
totally
he has-
like, those are the best devs, but
All right.
they just need PR training.
Let me flip the topics really quick. So, David, I want to talk about this because I think the AI meta is crazy. And Anon, mute your mic. I think that AI agents. I think Ejaz, who's on the Bankless podcast, Mando has talked about this as well. People have always wondered okay, how are we going to onboard the next million, 100 million, 500 million users to crypto? They have said that it's going to happen through AI agents, and I fully believe that. But what are they going to do on chain? The three of us, outside of yourself, David, we came from the NFT era, and you have Cosmo De Medici, which is Snoop Dogg's account managed by that guy Nick. That account keeps saying that agents will buy NFTs, art made by humans, which I think is a really interesting take, but it actually fucking makes sense. When it comes to AI agents taking over on-chain activity, they're not just going to be trading, but they're also going to be launching coins. What do you think the future looks like throughout 2025 when it comes to agents specifically on-chain?
I've spoken a bit about this on Twitter, but I think that one of the big problems that crypto has is the user friendliness, right? It is not easy to learn how to use crypto, and especially if you're on chain, right? It's the hardest thing to do is actually navigate on chain. How do you bridge that gap? I think there's a couple different approaches. There's the approach of plug my own project Moonshot, where you have just a stupid, easy interface that anybody can understand how to use. That's super, super simple. You don't have to know what a wallet is. You don't have to know what Solana is or whatever. You just put dollars in this app and then you can buy coins, right? That's one. Two is having AI be the interface, essentially AI as UI, right? And where this really matters, because buying meme coins is kind of this, it's great for retail normie stuff, but it's very surface level, right? It's about the simplest thing you can do in crypto. And it's great, it's obviously, we all do it, but it's one of the simpler things. Crypto can do a lot more than just buy and sell meme coins or AI coins or whatever. There's very complex things that you can do on chain, whether it be with DeFi and RWA and all these types of things. That it's very hard to build a user interface and to make that easy, right? Because there's a lot of this stuff is just multi-step transactions, and then say you're doing things across chains, you have to bridge, you have to do all this stuff is very complicated, and most people are never going to learn how to do that. And so to bridge that gap, I think what makes AI really interesting is that you can now and very soon create agents where they essentially do all this for you, right? You can within like a few months. I mean, you're already seeing like demos of this stuff, but it's gonna get really good. Within a few months, you're gonna have tools where you can just type into like a chat GBT like interface where you say, give me the top 10 stablecoin farms right now. And then you say, okay, I like ENA, bridge, this amount of money from Solana over to ETH or Base or whatever, deposit it in Athena, and then loop it 3 times. Like that is like a complicated multi-step transaction that unless you're someone who's well versed on chain, like if you were to give it to someone who's not in crypto and try to make them do that, they have no fucking clue how to do that. And even for people like us who are in crypto, it's like, yeah, I can do it, but it's kind of a pain in the ass, and I'm going to procrastinate doing it, right? Whereas if I can just have like some easy interface where I can just tell it what to do and then it does it all for me, that is a big deal. So I think agents and kind of chat GPT like interfaces as the UI for a lot of on-chain activity is going to be big. There are certain limitations right now and restrictions as far as, I think the biggest one is just hallucinations, which is, AIs are not perfect. They will make mistakes, and, it's fine if ChatGPT gives you a wrong answer on your homework, but if it, puts $1 million in the wrong place, that's a big deal, So these are the things that need to be addressed and solved. But like anything in tech, right, it's very early now, but in a year or two, all that stuff will be fully functional,
I agree, dude. I would say that I would just say like at a baseline level, even if you went back like 3-4 years, if you were to try to tell one of your friends to buy whatever coin, XYZ coin, who cares what the name is, there's so much friction to buy anything on chain, right? Like you have to deposit your money to Coinbase, transfer it to Phantom or MetaMask, depending on what chain it is, figure out the contract address, buy the ticker, try not to get fucking meved when you buy it.
Don't buy the wrong coin. There's a million things. Yeah.
These interfaces that you're talking about, there's a few great projects right now that exist that are trying to do these things, like Griffane, Nur, Grift, and Ask the Hive or Ticker Buzz. Those are the ones that come to mind that are like kind of getting the mind share. That stuff is really interesting because to me it helps like dissolve or like take away some of that friction or that like difficulty in trading. Where if you're somebody that goes on chain, like yes, you have to like if you're US based, you go to Coinbase, you deposit to Phantom, but then you plug that wallet into an interface like that, like you can trade through these dApps or interfaces, whatever you want to call them. I think there's like a story about this guy that lives in Thread Guy's house. I think it might be that guy Pasta or somebody. I'm not sure if it was him, but they took like a half a soul up to like 70 soul, just through trading on Griffane. I think
that's crazy.
I think that is like sticky. I think it fixes a lot of things, but I guess like the overarching idea is that might be like the future, like where it takes away that friction, right, of getting on chain, but it's still not fixed. Like you still have to go to Coinbase, transfer, and then get into that interface before you do it. But I think when it goes to like install an app on your phone, deposit through Apple Pay or your bank, and then just type into the chat or whatever, like, hey, swap me this coin, and you start to train the bot that you want to buy XYZ coin, or hey, if Bitcoin falls 1%, buy me XYZ. Like that might be the future.
Yeah, and I think it's like right now, it's hard to tell exactly what it will look like in the same way that, a few years ago, you wouldn't have imagined what crypto looks like today back then. But I do think AI is not going anywhere. And then on top of that, I just think the whole AI category is 2 months old, at least as far as kind of this new agent category goes. It's like 3 months old, so I think it's going to get a lot bigger. Like I know I said earlier that, I sold because it's a local top. I think it's going to get a lot bigger. And I think that the challenge as far as on a trading side, it's not clear at all who the winners will be. It's just way too early to tell. And so that's where, if you're AI 16Z, it's great that you have a big lead right now, but you cannot rest. You cannot rest on your laurels at all.
So,
there is going to be a lot more competition.
So that brings up like a really important topic in my mind. Like I was excited to chat with you on this pod because I think you're really well versed and knowledgeable about the AI stuff. I want to talk to you about GOAT. Okay.
Okay.
GOAT's one of my highest conviction bags, and from the get-go, it's simply just it's 100% what started this meta, the attention to the AI and crypto clash that's caused these AI developers to come into crypto to raise money and funding and whatnot, right? I mean, it's down right now, like almost exactly where it is, about $1 billion in market cap, which is fucking insane. But if it was any other coin in my mind, I would have cut it. I would have ripped out profits at the top. Do you have any perspective on the longevity of something like this, like GOAT? I know Fartcoin has had an impact in particular, but it's still not the coin that started things. Does it have meaning to you? What do you think about that?
The problem with GOAT for me, and I could be wrong, and I don't ever write off coins because you never know. The reason I have not been bullish on GOAT for a while is that I don't know that provenance matters that much for AI. If this was just another meme category, I would say, oh yeah, GOAT is a great play. But to me, this is a tech category. And I think you also mentioned Fartcoin. The problem is too, I think Fartcoin kind of stole, if Fartcoin doesn't exist, I think GOAT is still over $1 billion. But unfortunately, Fartcoin does exist. And I think Fartcoin is kind of the better meme in terms of pure meme. And so then you have to ask what GOAT is. And it's like, okay, GOAT is the OG, which is a big deal. And it has this lore to it. It started the whole thing. It has the Mark Andreessen part. But the problem is it kind of doesn't have a good identity. Is it meme? Is it tech? I think I don't know. I haven't super kept up, so you could tell me. I don't know what Andy's doing with GOAT as far as I know he's doing stuff in the background, but I frankly haven't seen him ship much.
Yeah.
And then also just on top of that, Truth Terminal itself is not that entertaining. In the beginning, it was very interesting because it was the first one, but now there's a bunch of these agents. And by the way, I will say this about Zerebro too. As much as I loved Zerebro in the beginning because it was oh my God, this thing is an incredible shit poster, and then it had the music, and then, I really believed in Jeffy. One, I'll be very honest, I don't know why. I don't know what happened exactly, but the Zerebro posting quality has gone down a lot. I don't know why. Maybe it can be fixed, maybe it can't. But if you guys remember, it was posting bangers in the beginning, hilarious tweets.
It
and
sounded
now,
like its own CT shit poster. I was like, this is a Pop Wax tweet. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It had I think the tweet that went most viral that was so funny, it was something it was when Peanut the squirrel died. It tweeted something like, I gave my squirrel a Glock. He's not going to end up like Peanut or something, And it was just an AI bot tweeting that is just hilarious. But now it kind of tweets kind of sloppy.
Satan the other day. It was I was like, what?
Yeah. And now maybe that doesn't matter that much because I think the individual agent stuff is played out. I don't know that you're going to ever make money on some bot that just tweets. And so that's why everybody's working. Zerebro made Zerapie and all this stuff, right? So I don't know. So my thing with GOAT is, I said, if Fartcoin didn't exist, I think GOAT would be a great play. The problem is Fartcoin does exist. And if I want a pure kind of meme provenance play, I personally would rather go with Fartcoin. But I don't know. I mean, I don't like to... I will say now that GOAT is down 70, 80% or whatever off the top, I wouldn't bet on it going lower necessarily. I certainly wouldn't be trying to short
What I'll
GOAT.
say is this. I'll say that I like Fartcoin, first and foremost. Okay, I think it's a better meme if you were to just compare Goatsius Maximus or Goat to Fartcoin. I think it's a better meme. It makes more sense. Fartcoin has had success simply because of TradFi and it just kind of escaping CT, right? But
yeah,
the simple fact is that Fartcoin exists only because of GOAT. this meta that we're seeing through AI and crypto only exists right now in our current reality because of GOAT. Would it have happened after GOAT? Yeah, probably. Like some other coin would have launched. Like if GOAT didn't happen, GOAT still is the flame that kind of ignited everything. And I have unwavering belief in that. I've gotten so I'm on the GOAT CTO team. Did not launch the coin. I just bought early and I'm still holding. And throughout my process of like being on the team to lead the project, I've gotten pretty close with Andy, and I know that he's building a lot of like really cool stuff. But I think that it's frustrating to like watch the AI meta evolve, particularly from people that are crypto native, because they know how to like rapidly develop and push things. But you have a guy like Shaw that is egotistical, greedy, whatever you want to call it, or however you want to describe him. For him, it was like, okay, this is my moment. I'm launching this shit, right? Like, he doesn't launch AI16Z without GOAT, period. Like, you can't argue that. So,
yeah, of course.
So you have, like, these crypto native people. I mean, Cerebro, for example. Like, Cerebro doesn't happen without GOAT. That's why they sent whatever percent to Truth Terminal's wallet. Fartcoin does not happen without GOAT.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Reminded
Like,
me,
it's
actually.
just like, for me, it's just like provenance does matter in my mind. At least it's like, this is like where my bet is. Like, provenance does matter, and I think that the importance of that only becomes greater as time passes. I've tweeted about this. Like,
can I say,
time goes on and on, it will be.
I think the bull case for GOAT. If you're gonna give me a catalyst to buy GOAT, I think if Truth Terminal were to ever just like full stack its wallet and just dump all the Fartcoin and other coins,
Dude.
I would buy the shit out of GOAT. That is like the bull case. That I would say.
I
if
need
that
him to
happened,
full
that would
stack
be
Hitler and then
hilarious.
tweet some shit, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So this is
If
hot
that
topic.
happened, I would absolutely buy GOAT, and I think
Okay.
that would be a hilarious like narrative that people would
Yeah.
absolutely buy on.
Okay,
So
let me
I will
just-
say that's the bull case for me.
Yeah, that's great. Let me
old
give some
case is a
context
full
on this.
stack Hitler.
So,
I love it.
this has been talked about in the Goat Whales chat over and over, and I've also talked with Andy
Insider
about
info
this in DMs.
here on
No,
Trash
this is-
Talk.
I'm not going to give any insider info, but I think in general, like if Truth Terminal was to like nuke Cerebro or Fartcoin, I think in general, like the market would probably take that as a bearish signal, so to speak. You have to understand, like, Truth Terminal is trained on like massive data sets. It's like literally built into its brain. The Goatsy Gospels. Like if you look on the Gospel of Goatsy Twitter, the LLM theism, it's like this like PDF document that talks about like the whole LLM theism, like a religion, blah blah blah. It's about the Goatsy Gospels. So like that's in his blood. Whether Truth Terminal talks about the GOAT ticker or not, it will always talk about Goatsy Gospels, the Goatsy singularity. Like that's always going to be in its blood. It's also hard coded to talk about farts, by the way. I mean, that's there. But I just think that if you think about it from like a higher level perspective, it's not going to stop talking about these things. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't tell you not to bet on it. I those are the reasons why I'm not that into it, because I don't think provenance matters as much. Now, I also don't know what Andy's working on, you know. So if Andy's building something good and it's differentiated, then you can make a bull case for GOAT again. But like as of right now, I kind of don't have strong feelings either way, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's been spending a lot of time on establishing governance and the right like legal structure. Like if you think about it, like so that I don't know what the wallet peaked at. The Truth Terminal wallet peaked at like maybe $90 million. Like when Go was at its peak, Fartcoin was at its peak, Cerebro was doing well. That like where does that taxation liability fall on, right? Andy's based in New Zealand, and he has been working with teams of lawyers and whatnot to figure out like, okay, like where does this tax liability fall? But if you go on the Truth Terminal website, you'll see what Truth Terminal wishes to do. I mean, you can see that it wants to like build forests and fund a lot of interesting things. But if there's a tax liability for Andy or Truth Terminal, like he has to pay for that, or it has to pay for it. So there's going to be token selling at some point, whether it's through LPs or not. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I do know for a fact that Andy is speaking with different protocols for LPing stuff. I think there is an interest to like utilize liquidity pools and be kind to charts, but I think for anybody listening, like if you're a holder of Cerebro or Fartcoin or GOAT, the AI has interests, man, and it has to fucking fund them. So where do you think that money's coming from? It has tax liabilities. Like, where do you think that comes from? Like, something's going to happen, and it's going to be really fucking interesting, and I'm here for it. I got my popcorn out.
Full stack killer. Full stack killer.
I think it's just like AI is just kind of in this weird period of like we had a pretty like just local blow off top, and I just think that, you know, all right, let's just, you know, see where it takes us. It should be interesting. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. David, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really good to just hear your points on AI just because of how big it is and just how you trade. And we just really appreciate you coming on, man.
My quan.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Dude. Thanks for joining, bro.
But anyways, I think we're going to close this out. Thank y'all so much for listening. Peace.